Today, we will be discussing about the types of social work professional writing. These are process recording, journal writing, narrative process and summary recording, and lastly, statement of the problem and assessment of statement. These professional writings are relevant in doing documentations and recording details and information during an actual interview. Process recording is a detailed narrative of client session and meeting. Understanding and knowing how to use it effectively have mutual benefits to the student and instructor. The data being gathered will be used to assess the student's communication skills and interaction towards the client. This will serve as a record if he improves his ability to communicate with the clients and others. Process recording is a three-column form, and its data is an important element in this instructive technique. Students use the information to improve their interaction and communication skills, while instructors use the written record to focus the student's interpersonal communication training on his weak areas and reinforce his strength. The purpose of process recording is to help the student to recall and to enhance the capacity to observe during an interview, such as the verbal and nonverbal cues, body languages and presence, person's attitude, and even his own feelings and thoughts. Most of all, the awareness of the student to his own actions, languages, approach, and theories being used during the interaction. Good process recording has the student's accountability for the information he gathered, his behavior, and his own action. He will be held accountable for the informal distribution of the information. It has a transparency to his observations, thoughts, feelings, and intentions. Students are expected to have integrity and honesty in collecting the data and information, and not editing even a single word in the conversation, given the fact that it is tempting to do. Protection to the client's background and to keep it with utmost respect. Good record keeping must be complied at the given allotted time and not after the deadline. Accessibility and availability of information to others enabled to continue the intervention and implementation of services. Retention and disposition to keep the written record formally and confidentially. The advantages of process recording is that it helps the student to differentiate his own feelings and thoughts, for it will be recorded on the form. It will help him to improve his writing skills and expression, to identify his weaknesses and strengths in dealing and communicating with the client. Lastly, to help him improve his self-awareness on his thoughts, actions, theories, and techniques to use. The disadvantages of process recording is that it is a time-consuming, especially given the fact that you will be recording your client's responses and behavior. And this is a time-consuming too, for it is an actual interview and observation. But sometimes, technical problems are present, especially using on electronic devices. So this is a clear example of process recording. As what I have said earlier, process recording is a three-column form. The client's name is optional, but it is important to record what you have observed during the interview and the interaction. So let's talk about the example here. The first column contains the responses of the clients and student to each other. The second column contains the student's thoughts and feelings during the interview and the responses of the client. While on the last column, it contains the instructor comment and suggestion to make the student's communication and interaction skills better. So all in all, process recording is a big help to our future profession because this will lessen our burden on making documentation and recording. And lastly, it will help us to improve our self-awareness, especially on dealing with our clients and interactioning with them and communicating. This will also help us to take highlights on our strengths and weaknesses on communication and interactional skills. So I hope you learn on my discussion about process recording sample. Thank you for listening.
Now, let's proceed to journal writing, which is also one of the useful professional writing in the field of social work profession. Journal writing is a learning tool based on the ideas. Therefore, journal writing can be also called as a diary, where you can write anything that is happening to you. You can write based on what you are feeling right now and every day is the purpose of journal writing. Who use journals are actively engaged in their own learning and have the opportunity to clarify and reflect upon their thinking. Journal writing helps you reflect yourself in your everyday situation. It helps you clear everything. Next, they can record such things as ideas and feelings, special words and expressions they have heard, interesting things that have happened to them, or information about interesting people. Therefore, just by writing, everything can be recorded. Journal is useful in doing interviews, in doing research. Journals helps you gather informations without forgetting them. Lastly, journal writing offers opportunities to write without fear, often associated with marking. Therefore, also journals will give you a limitless chance to tell everything without being judged and corrected. Journals is an assurance to not be scared in exposing your secrets. These are the assessment and evaluation considerations in writing a journal. Good journals share the following characteristics. First on the list is personal observations. In writing a journal, you can observe your own growth and development. Next is questions. You can ask everything about yourself and also you'll answer it. With that, you can realize something. It gives you realizations. Also, speculations and predictions. It gives you the chance to predict everything, to predict your future, to visualize your career, your goals, to give you the chance to plan for yourself. In writing a journal, self-awareness is being visible, developing yourself, being aware of everything, being conscious on what you are doing, and realize do not commit the same mistake again. Now, let's discuss the benefits and or the 5 powerful ways journal writing changes your life. According to Erickson I. Maris, journals help you connect to your values, emotions, and goals. Why? It is because you give details and informations about yourself. Therefore, You are connected to yourself also. Next, journals improve mental clarity and focus. Mentality. It improves your mentality and gives you the chance to be focused in every situation. Because just by writing your problem in your journal, it helps you cleanse everything. It helps you clears your mind and think clearly. Next, journals track your overall development. Yes, it traces your development. It traces how you change over time. In writing, you can realize or you will realize everything you have done. How you how do you do mistakes? Where did you when did you do right things? When did you fail? Lastly, journals facilitate personal growth. They assure you that it is impossible for you not to grow when it comes to journal writing because it is too powerful. It is one of the method for you to realize everything about yourself, for you to become a better person. Journals improve insights and understanding. It improves your understanding to yourself. It improves your insights, how you deal with your own, how you connect with yourself. It guides you to understand more about you, to have conversation about being who you are.
Greetings to everyone. My topic is all about summary recording and narrative process. So first, let's begin with summary recording. But first, let's define what is recording. The Social Work Dictionary 2014 defines recording as the process of putting in writing and keeping on file relevant information about the client, the problem, the prognosis, the intervention plan, the progress of treatment, the social, economic, and health factors that contribute to the situation, the procedures of termination or referral. Now, let's proceed to what is summary recording. Summary recording is the preferred method for ongoing social work practice because it is much briefer than process recording, hence, much less time consuming to write and to record. However, summary recording requires more thought and planning on the worker's part because he must decide what to record and what to omit. Summary recording tries to summarize the interactions with focus on the main events. It avoids detail of any event. It is useful for keeping the records of the work carried out. But first, let's define what is recording. The Social Work Dictionary 2014 defines recording. Purpose and functions of social work recording. Documentation of social work activity. Social worker records each and every activity of the process of solving the problem of client. Continuity of services. Social worker might be an employee for an agency. She or he is might not be there for inter-process of problem solving with client or agency. In this situation, agency must be able to pick up where or she or he left up. This would be possible with the help of record only. Quality control. The quality and quantity of services being provided could be known by reviewing written records that present a picture of social work activity. Statistical reporting. Social workers maintain records periodically. Those data and sources is being used by social work agencies to justify agencies' activities and programs. This justification is a way to maintain funding for ongoing programs and projects or to formulate or plan another programs and projects. Organizing the workers' thought. Social work use various skills and methods to mobilize clients to solve individuals, families, groups, and community problems. They develop their analytical skills, and those analysis is also includes in recording. Interdisciplinary communication. Generally, it believes that social workers do not refer any cases, but sometimes social workers themselves cannot sort out the problem by himself. While seeking help with other discipline or professional, recording used to communicate social diagnostic information and recommendations for consideration by other professionals who may be involved with the client in a team approach to treatment. Teaching and research. Social worker records each and every activities, observation, limitation, and learning. While doing so, social worker link this process with theoretical application which provide them insights of theoretical aspect of social work. A therapeutic tool. Recording can be used as a therapeutic tool with the client to help him to respond to treatment. Assessment and planning. Social worker records clear and comprehensive facts and circumstances of cases. Records help social worker to plan for target and client systems to sort out the issues faced by clients in proper path. Records give feedback and seek forecasts for intervention plan. Accountability. Recordings as written or audiovisual document can be used to make the workers, agency, and community accountable to the actions taken by them. Supervisory review. Review of case records is used by most supervisors as a means of keeping track of social work activity. Records review is also a means of assessing the kind and quality of service being provided by an individual supervisor. Purpose and functions of social work recording. Documentation of social work activity. Social worker records each and every activity of the. Our next topic is the narrative process. Our next topic. What is narrative process? Here are some definitions of narrative process. Simply put, a process control narrative is a written description of a manufacturing process that details the steps needed to start up, maintain an ideal running state, and safely shut down the system. A process narrative is a story or a guide to define what processes your IT group performs and how they perform this task. Narrative process using image, symbol, and visual storytelling is a valuable and powerful tool for understanding root stories and unconscious beliefs, while assessing new information to support restorative healing. In short, narrative process, it is a story of what you do. What is narrative? So we have the process narrative details or outline. First, the introduction. A. Purpose of the process. B. Intended audience. C. Background. D. Who performs the operation. E. Brief description with a visual aid. F. Definitions of terms. G. Materials and methods used. H. Results. I. Partitioning sentence, the major steps in the explanation phase by phase. In the second, we have the step-by-step explanation. A. First major step, and B. Second major step. So we have the process narrative details or outline. And third is the conclusion. A. One operating cycle. B. Result of the operation. C. Review of the major steps. And D. Application of the process. And third is the conclusion. A. One. Define narrative. Narrative is a telling of some true or fictitious event or connected sequence of events recounted by a narrator to a narrative. Lastly, what is narrative approach? Narrative approach to social work involves helping clients to talk about their problems as if they were a story. The primary benefit of the narrative approach is in helping the client gain distance and objectivity in regards to the problem. The narrative approach can also be used to guide clients into discerning the causality that lead to the problem, which in turn can help inform their future behavior. Define narrative. Narrative is a telling of some true or fictitious event or
Our topic for today is a statement of the problem and assessment statement. A problem statement is a statement of a current issue or problem that requires timely action to improve the situation. This statement concisely explains the barrier the current problem places between a functional process and/or product and the current state of affairs. So when we talk about statement of the problem, what comes into your mind? Obviously, it's stating a problem of a certain issue. For example, as a social worker, you have a client that suffers from violence against women. So you will write down there the statement of the problem that her husband is hurting her physically and emotionally. So that's one of the examples of a statement of the problem. A problem statement is a communication tool. Problem statement is important to business, individuals, and other entities to develop projects focused on improvement. So why is the statement of the problem important? Statement of the problem finds the gap and mistakes in a certain topics or issues. It also helps to improve or describe how things should work, and it also explains the problem and state why it matters. Problem statements have multiple purposes. It is to identify and explain the problem in a concise but detailed way to give the reader a comprehensive view of what's going on. Another purpose is to clarify what the expected outcomes are. This also includes identifying who the problem impacts, what the impacts are, where the problem occurs, and why and when it needs to be fixed. The problem statement provides a guide for navigating the project once it begins. It is continually referenced throughout the duration of the project to help the team remain focused and on track. Near the completion of the project, this statement is again referred to in order to verify the solution has been implemented as stated and that it does indeed solve the initial problem. This can help in making sure that the proper steps are being taken to prevent the same problem from happening in the future. You should put in mind that the problem statement does not attempt to define the solution, but is the one that initiates the process by recognizing the problem. How to write a problem statement. Number 1. Describe how things should work. You should provide some content that will make it easier to understand the problem. Number 2. Explain the problem and state why it matters. You should address not only the problem itself but why it is a problem and why it is important. Number 3. Explain your problem's financial cost. The statement of the problem needs to explain the cost of not fixing it. Pinpoint the exact money amount that would be cost if it won't be fixed. Number 4. Back up your claims. You must be prepared to support your claims with evidence. Number 5. Propose a solution. It should describe your proposed resolution. State your objectives and plans for attacking the problem. Number 6. Explain the benefit of your proposed solution. Explain what would be the result of choosing not to fix it and propose some realistic approach to finding a solution. Number 7. Conclude by summarizing the problem and solution. In this point, you are going to make the conclusion and the summarization of the whole statement of the problem.
In types of social work professional writing, it includes assessment statement. A social work statement is a report written by a social worker evaluating a client's educational, mental health, substance abuse, or occupational needs. You will need to interview the client and other significant parties knowledgeable about the client's background and current needs. The final written report includes goals clients should complete to resolve his or her problem and the treatment or assistance the social worker recommends to help the client accomplish these goals. In writing an assessment statement, the first method is the gathering information. First, a social worker should schedule interviews. Most of the information that a social worker incorporates into social work assessment comes from direct reports from all parties involved with a case. A social worker should begin by interviewing the person who is seeking services. If possible, interview family members, former case workers, physicians, teachers, and other people who can give you more information about your client's situation. Second, review documents. You can add to your information by consulting important documents. This might include psychiatric, educational, vocational, or medical tests as well as agency records. Keep a record of all sources used for assessment. In assessment, you will want to record who you interviewed and any incidents you will be able to observe and any documents you consulted. Third is interview clients in a safe atmosphere. The most important part of the assessment is creating a rapport with your client and other interviewees that would encourage them to divulge information honestly. Of course, to attain a good response to our client, a social worker should create a safe atmosphere when conducting interviews by explaining the rules of confidentiality to the interviewees. And to get a positive response, focus on finding the strength of client. Be optimistic to not discourage your client and continue to be polite, punctual, and attentive. And the fourth is ask open-ended questions. This required the person to respond with detailed answer. A question requiring only a yes or no answer will not produce enough information for you to write an assessment that can be used to set goals and determine the treatment plan. For example, instead of asking if the client is angry with another individual, ask them to explain how they feel about them.
Third is find strengths and solutions. As a social worker, you should make an effort to ascertain the strengths and resources of the client as well as the community that he is part of. We should think about how this can be used to improve the client's condition and set specific goals for the client that are time limited and attainable. For example, if the goal is to stop using drugs, your treatment recommendation should include referral to a substance abuse program that requires the client to attend and set a target date for completion of the program.
Fourth, think about the client ecologically. Remember that the client is influenced by a wider social ecology that includes his family, school, workplace, the community, and the wider socio-cultural context. When we say think about the client ecologically, of course, we should consider how this social group contributes to the client's needs or how the resources or individuals in this wider context can contribute to rectifying problems. Fifth is use the assessment as part of the therapeutic process. Use the occasion of writing the assessment to think comprehensively about how to improve the client's situation. As the end way of writing an assessment statement, schedule a follow-up meeting with the client after you've written and discussed the assessment to review the client's progress towards completing each goal. Return to the assessment periodically to evaluate the client's development. That's all. Thank you.